everybody, welcome in. In this video, I thought I would set aside just a whole video to play with some things that I've been really excited about that's come in PR lately. So I've got some things from M Cosmetics and Colorpop. We've got some Physicians Formula to try today. And some of these things I've experimented with a little bit, like I've dabbled in some of this, so I kind of have an idea of what's coming. It was just all stuff that when it arrived, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get my hands on that, you know, and learn a little bit more about it. And sometimes with PR, I mean, I feel like it's always exciting, but it's not always something where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so eager to get my hands on that. So this is stuff I'm pretty eager about. And I will tell you, I've already applied one of these. These are new from Colorpop. I've got the little card here, or from Fourth Ray. They're called Serum Boosts. You can mix these in with your moisturizer, or I just applied them like a serum underneath my moisturizer. I use the Blue Light Protection one today. So that's supposed to have antioxidants defending against the blue light rays, you know, from all our technology and whatnot. There's a Cactus Hydrating Serum Boost and a Turmeric Brightening Serum Boost. So I thought those were kind of cool, and I went ahead and used this one for the first time today underneath everything. Next up, we have a line of things that I kind of like wrote off initially when I saw these come out from Physicians Formula on Ulta's website. It's the Natural Defense line. I was kind of like, okay, I was trying all these lightweight BB cream, CC cream products. I'm like, I don't need one more. And then I didn't plan on the fact that this would be coming to my doorstep. And I open up the box, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to give that a try. So what I have here is the Protect Your Prime Oil Sunscreen. This seems pretty interesting. It has SPF 15. It says it has a radiation protection filter for blue light, and PPF is pollution protection filter. It looks like a super duper thin oil, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply some of this. Again, I've already moisturized, but this is gonna be my little primer oil layer, if you will. It is very thin. Some primer oils are a little thicker. The other day I was using that Mindful 5 from Smashbox, for example, and that's much thicker than this. But it's definitely giving me an extra layer of moisturization, trying to work it around any of those areas where, you know, the product just clings and shows a little more. Got my brand new Fitbit on. Bubba's had one of these for a while, but I kind of decided I needed to get in on the game too. The girls and I, and Bubba too, he's in a stroller, we take a lot of walks around the neighborhood these days, and they're all about it. We got different routes we take. We take multiple walks during a day, and I just basically want to be getting credit for all that. I want those steps to count. I want to know, like, how many steps am I actually taking? So this is just a real basic Fitbit here. It was in the like $40 range at Best Buy, and it will still tell me about like my sleep. It will give, I guess, an estimate on calories burned, but I'm excited to have it. I got the app. I'm gonna be competing with Bub on a daily basis. I could say we're just being silly for Instagram. But this is what's actually happening. We're both trying to get in more steps than the other. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the Natural Defense foundation. Yeah, they call it foundation sunscreen, SPF 30, shake before use. And I'm gonna be applying that with a brush that I am so into here. This is the F47 Multitasker from Sigma. They're calling this the face brush that does it all. So I was very eager to try this. I used it just yesterday and was really pleased with it. It's very dense. It has kind of the shape of those Instapop brushes that I like so much from Real Techniques. You know, it's got that angle, and it can kind of stamp on product really easily, but it can blend too. They claim that it can apply blush, bronzer, or highlight. It can do foundation or powder. So we're probably going to be using that for quite a few steps today, but let's go on with this. I have it in light to medium. I've got about a pump and a half happening here. It seems really thin, like in comparison to It Cosmetics CC cream, let's say, very thin. And using this brush, I really like that shape where you can just kind of like dab over areas where you want more coverage. This is giving me kind of a medium coverage, on the lighter end of medium, you know, not the side of medium where you're like, oh, is it approaching full coverage? No, definitely not getting there. But I'm just kind of looking at how it sort of evened out areas where I have some melasma. overall skin tone evening, making me look slightly more matte, I feel, like just in dabbing it around the nose. I think what's making me feel maybe a teeny bit luminous with this is just the fact that I have a primer oil underneath, you know? But I think the product itself is trying to be almost like a semi-matte. Now, my friends, there's also a concealer in this line that also has that SPF 30, and I have it here in Fair. And I was trying to use this yesterday, and you know what happened? Okay, it's this kind of a product where you twist here, it unlocks, and product should come out that end. Well, it actually burst out of this end, and it was bad. Like, I looked like I had a little paint splatter on like my shirt, my pants, my basket of stuff. So I think I'm just gonna need to go with that and just continue squeezing out of that end. This is so weird. I'm not saying everyone's product would perform this way, but obviously mine has a bit of a flaw. So I just squeezed a little out. This shade seems pretty light, but it's what was sent, so we're gonna go with it. Ideally, I'd probably be one shade down for a little more effective, like actual concealing of stuff on my skin, you know? So I'm gonna dab a little bit around here, trying to just do a real patting motion with this brush to maximize my coverage. And like I said, you know, I can still see some things through this, but it is giving me some brightening to the skin. But yeah, pretty disappointed that even though I had the applicator like unlocked, you know, I wasn't creating unnecessary pressure in the product. It should have come out that end, but it just didn't. Now here's where it's a little tricky with this brush because it can't hit my inner part of my eye area super well. So I come in with this. Do I like this better than the RT Go brush? I mean, I think that's a little better deal, obviously. I mean, it costs less than Sigma and it covers a great surface area. It's got that density. It even has a little mini brush enclosed in it. So, I mean, I would say still a big fan of that brush, but I just like that Sigma put out something with multitasking in mind. So here we are with that concealer, and I'm still seeing a little darkness, I'm still seeing a little melasma. Overall, those areas are brightened, but just not fully concealed. And again, some of it's just the shade that I had to work with. Then we're gonna keep it going with this line, guys. There's a finishing powder, setting the tone finishing powder sunscreen. This has an SPF of 20 in it, so everything has had SPF, and I do like the little, the way the packaging has clouds on it. I love clouds. I think that's beautiful. And this is again in the shade Fair. Texture on this, it seems kind of smooth, like a little bit of a buttery smoothness, you know, not really one of those dry powders where it's just kind of flaking everywhere. I'm gonna be picking some of this up with my e.l.f. small tapered brush. And naturally, I'm gonna wanna set the under eye area a little bit. See if this adds any coverage. Maybe a little bit of coverage is coming at me now. And let's pat it around the nose. The nose is always a good test for how much something's trying to mattify me, and I feel like this is definitely a matte powder, nothing super radiant about it. And I'm gonna go ahead and just pat this in the T-zone area too. So I don't know, I was pretty excited to try that stuff just because I don't know. If you can find some good gems from Physicians Formula, it's great. You know, it's an affordable brand. I'll want to pay close attention to the way this foundation wears throughout the day. The concealer, really not blowing my mind here. I feel like even if I did get, let's say, 1 or 2 shades down, it's a pretty thin, light product, and I don't sense that it's going to be maybe as much coverage even as the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind, let's say. The powder seems nice, but not necessarily anything to write home about. It did mattify, may have added a little coverage here and there where I needed it. I'm just not jumping up and down, you know? Now, in terms of bronzer and contour, I've got nothing new really in my PR stash, so I'm just going to go to my Cali Contour from Smashbox here. I've been loving this so much. I'm going to try to use this multitasker brush again from Sigma. I worry a little bit for steps like this because, yeah, it's so dense. It really lays that product down in a much more dense way than I'm used to for powder bronzer. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that. I think it may turn out a little bit patchy if I continue there. So I'm going to go back to my BK Beauty 107. Yes, okay. Comfort zone. Where I think that brush though would be nice, the Sigma multitasker, I think it would be good to blend out some cream contour or cream bronzer. Just the density of the brush I think would work really nicely for that. Here I'm just taking that bronzer shade, buffing it in. I kind of tap into each one, and we'll give ourselves a little contour action here. Go into our contour and take it down this way. You know, it took me a while, but I'm glad I'm finally realizing what a brilliant little palette this is. Then I'm going to go into the bronzer again, and we're just going to focus on kind of amping up the skin tone by getting it on top of the cheek as well. I just feel really, really light after that concealer. Now guys, here's something I was so excited about. There are new serum blushes out from M Cosmetics. I love these. I think these are some of the most beautiful like liquid blushes on the market, and now they've got some more shades. So this is what the whole range of new ones looks like, including this red one. And this is the one that really intrigued me most. In swatching it, I could see that it's definitely got some sheerness. Like, I'm not really scared of this shade, but I wanted to try it out. It's called Cherry Splash. And what you'll find with these products is that they're not like a liquid stain like Benetint or something where it's going to be really transparent and you put it on your skin and in a matter of moments it's starting to set. This definitely has some moisture in it, and I feel like there's a lot of sort of copycat type products out there. I think Physicians Formula has some liquid blushes that kind of mimic what's going on here, but the thing that makes the M Cosmetics ones more unique to me is how much color they actually have. They are kind of a little goes a long way type product. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself a few little dabs of that blush here. Didn't get quite as much on this side. But like I said, it's a serum blush. That name really makes sense to me. There's moisture in this. It's not completely setting immediately. Now let's take that multitasker brush again. Very good for a cream or liquid blush, yes. This is giving me such a natural little pop on the cheeks. Don't often use red. Another thing I like about these is that there's no shimmer in them, but they always offer this little bit of radiance just because of their texture. They're not going to feel sticky on the skin, but just the right amount of subtle dewy glow, even though you're not feeling real dewy to the touch. Gosh, I mean, that shade really looks natural. Like, it really looks like just coming in from being out in the sun for a little while. I'm going to take a dot more each side. And see, that's the difference between the M Cosmetics and other brands, is that a dot really can make a difference here. You don't need a lot. That is so fresh. I'm really enjoying that. Can't wait to play with the other shades too, but this one just really intrigued me. I'm like, what's that gonna do? And while we're on M Cosmetics, this is very interesting to me. It's called Lip Cushion Tinted Lip Luminizer, and they say this is a universally flattering vintage rose shade. The shade is actually called Venetian Rose, but described as vintage rose. It says it's an ultra comfortable balm that melts on contact into a luxurious cushion texture with a glossy finish. So very, very interesting here. I was playing with this and I do think it's fascinating. What you've got is a click up bottom, and you're going to see the product with a couple of clicks just emerge past the plastic tube there. And it looks like a lipstick. And you put it on and you feel like you're applying gloss. It's really strange. There is a thickness to it that would have you convinced like that's lip gloss, but it's emerging from a stick, and you know that you're really getting some thickness of product on there, because if you just barely clicked it up above, after one pass over the lips, it's already like kind of worn down flat. So you may need to click up again and get the rest of it. But the shade, it's like they've released this one shade and it is really nice. So there's what that looks like. I mean, the shine is great. There's a thickness there that feels so, so good, and like almost like you've put on a really nice, expensive gloss. And in the little PR materials here, Michelle says, by far my favorite must-have product. I've gone through 5 of these in the past year. I mean, I wonder if she's gone through so many because maybe this is gonna wear down pretty quick, because you literally are like clicking it up with every use, and then after each use, you've worn it back down to the top. I'm really interested to see with regular use how fast I might go through this, but I think it's a brilliant product. And then she's also got lip liners now. I pulled out the color called Bunny, Soft Blur Velvet Lip Liner. I probably should have gone all over the lips with this first to really know more about the finish and everything, but for now I'm just gonna kind of neaten things up. This is to be continued on the lip liners. Really haven't played with them enough to know what they're doing. But just in like swatching it on my hand, I can see it's not like a shiny cream finish lip liner. It does look more like kind of a matte. Now I'm gonna pop on my brows and I'll be right back. I just popped on my e.l.f. brow cream real quick and a little bit of gel, but I gotta say, I'm already really not loving the look of the under eye there. That concealer paired with the powder, setting it on top, like I'm already looking so heavy and creasy there. I really wouldn't have expected it out of this product. The concealer was fairly thin, but it just does not look fresh at all. It's making me look a lot older, I don't know, at a glance here, and it's still not feeling like, it feels kind of tacky to the touch. It's like, how did I apply the concealer, set it with powder, it looks really dry, but yet it feels still tacky. It's not a home run for me, I gotta say, but here's something I'm excited to play with today. It's the Garden Variety palette from Colourpop. Now, I do have more from this collection, but this is the first thing we're stepping into today because this palette looked so beautiful to me. And you know what it reminded me of? Probably my favorite Colourpop palette that exists, and it's called Good Sport. But I mean, it existed, but I don't think it's available anymore. But it had some of the green, gold, orangey, purple, definitely this whole purple vibe happening right down the middle. So this kind of feels like a little bit of a rebirth of the Good Sport palette, a little bit. It also reminds me of some of the things I love in my Once palette. So there's definitely a natural like appeal with this product. I think some looks, if you already have the Once, some looks may be possible from that and this. I think what you're gonna see in this palette are a few more like really glitzy shimmers, you know? But I went ahead and got my eye primer on, and let's see, what kind of look do we want to do today? I've used this palette one time already, and we went for plum and we went for the green, so maybe we'll do something a little bit different today. I'm going to start out with Prickly Please, this matte peach, and kind of get that going in my crease a bit. But yeah, I was so excited when I saw just pictures before this even came. I wasn't sure I was going to be getting it or anything, but I thought this palette looked so nice. I loved the color intensity, and I loved the mix of colors, because to me, these kinds of colors just feel very wearable. The purples, the splash of green, you know, the peach. To me, it seems very approachable, and if you see this and you think of elements of the Once palette, I mean, obviously, they're shades I really like and would gravitate towards. I'm going to use some Stay Sharp down here in this corner, another matte, kind of a warm brown, warm medium brown. I'm just adding that to my crease. Also really like the packaging, just this big floral print. There's like some succulents and some flowers in there. Or maybe they're all different kinds of succulents. Some really look like flowers. But as time goes on here, I'll be playing with some of the other parts of the collection. this palette was the thing that excited me the most. I think I'm gonna take some of this shade right here. It's called Sucka For You, and it's got a little bit of sparkle in it. It seems like, you know, one of those matte shades that just has a little embedded sparkle. It's not gonna come off like a metallic or anything. And I'm gonna pat some of this on the outer part of my lid and also the inner part, so I can maybe just do a pop on the center of the lid. I just want it to be a little different seeming look than what I did yesterday, which was very much plum and green. You can see some of that sparkle actually translating from this shade as you pack it on. It's like it's dense enough in the product to really be able to see it. And then the brush that I'm really liking to help me out in the inner corner is the 207 from BK Beauty. I would say if you're familiar with using like a pencil brush, this is a thicker pencil brush. Really fits into the crease well, and it's gonna just help me pull that shadow left to right. You know, it's hitting my crease, but it's getting up above it too. Because every time I do a look like this, I'm like, I'm kind of struggling with the blend in this area. But this will help. I'm gonna pick up a little more of that shade actually. Kind of focus on just going gently up above where I see that crease line. Okay, then I'm just taking this brush. This is kind of a nice size. It's from Profusion. It's the ES3 Pointed Crease Eyeshadow. And it sort of fits around here. It's just bare. And I'm just using that to soften up the color. And then I may also take this matte shade called Deserted and let a little bit of that come up here. Wow, that seems like a very, very pigmented white. Ever so slightly off-white, but it's very light. May even take just a little more Prickly Please, that peach, and go over it just so that's not too light. And then I just want to pick one of these statement colors to really pop right there on the center of the lid. I think I'm going to use the color called Don't Leaf. It seems like a really bright copper. I hope there's enough actual color to it because it seems like a little bit different texture actually, almost like a Super Shock shadow. Let's see how it applies with the brush first. Not great. The finger is better, but I swear they stuck in a Super Shock shadow right there. I'm trying to figure out if that's the only one like that in here. The one right above it might be a little that way too, but I'm just gonna keep letting it build a little bit here. By being like a Super Shock shadow, if you're not familiar, I mean, it just has a creaminess, like my finger sinks into that one a little bit. Okay, so I've really got this glowing luminosity. You can definitely build that shade to be what you see is what you get, you know, but immediately with a brush, it doesn't look like it's going in that direction. Now I just need to overlap a little bit more from each side, back with that kind of mauve-y sparkle. And then let's just take some of that same shade just for continuity's sake and use a little bit kind of framing the eye. And then maybe we try for a little bit of wavelength. Okay, that one definitely picks up better with the brush than Don't Leaf right underneath it did. So I don't think they're exactly the same texture, but I'm just getting a little brightening right in here. That shade can actually feel a little bit flaky with the brush. Okay, so I think that's gonna do it for the eye look today. Kind of a little bit more natural take on this palette given the colorful pops that are in here, but I do really like the plums. I love the matte plum in here. I really liked using that green yesterday, but it's a fun mix. It really is. Again, if you really liked the Good Sport palette or you kind of felt like you missed out on that, I feel a real vibe from that palette coming out in this one. For right now, I'm going to curl my lashes, and we have two new mascaras from Essence that came. One's called What the Fake Volumizing and Lengthening Mascara. It says plus volumizing fibers. We're going to use that on the upper lashes, and then I'll test this one on the lower lashes. It's called Bye Bye Panda Eyes Long-Lasting Smudge Proof Formula. It also says it's a volumizing and defining mascara. So I thought, you know, I'm always looking for something to be able to put on my lower lashes that isn't gonna smudge off or transfer down below. Yesterday I used it there and it did pretty well on one eye but not on the other. I'm not sure if I inadvertently rubbed or what I did. But here's this one. I love the brush. It's a natural bristle brush, but look how thin it is and how tapered it is. You really feel like you have a lot of control with the application. But one thing I also noticed is that it takes multiple coats to really get somewhere with this one, I feel. It's not one of those like a cosmetic superhero where it touches the lashes and it's like, boom, work is over. I'm not saying it looks bad with one coat, but I would want more. And it doesn't take forever to dry, so you can kind of go back and keep building right away. But see how it took me dipping back into the tube to really get some more product laying down there and get it clinging to that first coat. Not too bad though. I'll probably go back and add just a little more after I do the other eye. Really building pretty well even after it's definitely had a chance to dry. Gosh, I just wish this brush was in a lot of different mascaras that are out there. I don't know if brands just think that visually we need to feel like we're getting some huge brush to think that it's going to be capable of volume, and that's just not the case. It's all about how the brush interacts with the lashes and if it can kind of like help the product latch on there and at the same time be easy to control like this is. The product is building nicely and I'm happy with the way it looks. It's actually seeming like a fairly dramatic mascara, right? Now this Bye Bye Panda Eyes, it doesn't actually say waterproof, which is fine. You know, if it's truly going to be smudge proof, we'll take that. But it says mascara for clean volume and defined lashes. So this brush looks like this. It's a little bit bigger, but not quite as dense looking with the bristles. Let a little bit of that come down there. It doesn't seem like it's wanting to be clumpy, so that's good. Like I said yesterday, staying power was kind of 50-50 with this. But I did work out. I was pretty active. I definitely put it through some things, but I mean, that's life. That's life for a lot of us. But guys, that kind of concludes my look today because I already did my lips. I think the lip and the eye are working really nicely together today. I was super excited to try the new stuff from M Cosmetics. Those serum blushes are super nice. I really like that lip color. I find that to be incredibly unique. The way it comes off of a stick and feels so glossy. And we're talking thicker than like the L'Oreal Color Reshines. The feel on those, even though I've referenced a certain amount of thickness with those, like they're thicker, but they're on a more lip balmy end of things. This you put on and you would swear you just applied a gloss because there's even more thickness and richness to that formula. I'm doing my little trick where I blink down on the lashes to kind of reinforce the curl. I'm feeling like the upper lashes are looking so nice right now, actually. And I had fun with that palette. I was really excited to use the Colorpop palette for a different look than what I did initially. And I do really like the color range. Probably more excited for that palette than I have been for any Colorpop palettes in a while. The Physicians Formula complexion products were a little underwhelming for me. Of any of it, I think maybe the foundation might be the most like workable for me going forward. I think the finish is nice. It's not super high coverage, but it could definitely work paired with a concealer that you really love and probably give you a look that's just fine, you know? But that concealer, of course you're gonna get rubbed the wrong way when you get like a paint splatter on you from the day before when it squeezes out the wrong end, but even not holding that against it, I know I can get better coverage from other things and probably more hydration. Think about the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer, and then pairing it with that setting powder. The under eye is just not looking great, honestly, just from a texture standpoint. This Sigma multitasker brush I think is really nice. I think it's going to be great to kind of have in the mix for blending in either foundations, concealers, cream, blushes, bronzers, highlights, things like that. I don't love using a brush that's this dense and heavy duty for those kinds of face color steps if it's a powder, but if it's a cream, it works great to get that blending happening. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what products you were most interested in, or if there's anything that didn't get in this video that you're into. The cicadas just toned up out there. Thank you guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.